I'm flying to the moon. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Her Impact, the show that celebrates the guts and resilience and the journeys of women in science. I'm your host, Constantia, and we're going to dive very, very deep to the fascinating story of scientists of Valentina Tereshkova, the first woman in space. And what better day and time to do this, because we hear a lot about astronauts, women astronauts that went a few days ago, 11 minutes up in space. And what a better time to remind ourselves about the women that they did, and they make a huge impact in the world. And who better to learn the story of the very first woman in space that went there in a solo journey. She was the only one in the space ship. So let's begin our story into the groundbreaking career of this woman, and that actually inspired generations and generations to come. So her story starts in 1937 in a small village called Bolshoi Maslenikovo in the Yaroslavl region of the Soviet Union. I have to read it, from screen because I cannot remember it. So she grew up in very modest condition. Her father, who lost when she was very young in World War II, was a farm worker. And that's why she grew up with her mother, which was working in a textile factory. From an early age, Valentina shows curiosity and grit. And after finishing primary school, she didn't want to go to higher education. And she actually stepped to the real world, and she went to help with her mother in the factory alongside of her. She was working in the textile factory with her. But in her mind, she wanted to do much more. In her spare time, she took up parachuting as a hobby, which for me is very, very scary. I'm just scared of airplanes. Imagine if I go parachuting. That's scary. And it was in the 40s, 50s which did that. So how many women did parachuting as a hobby back then? Not many, I'm guessing. And still, I know a lot do now, but then how much uncommon must be that for her? So she, in the flash, just a few times, she became an expert and an experienced skydiver. She did 150 jumps. Oh, I'm scared even to think about this. So imagine, she wanted to be the sky. She wanted to go to the stars. She was adventurous. And that's for me, for any woman that I know, that she's such an adventurer, is clearly an inspiration and motivation for me. So that passion for adrenaline and defying gravity in parachuting and jumping through an airplane into many kilometers from the ground. Oh my God, from Earth. That passion opened the very, very unliked door. In 1962, when the Soviet space program was in the hand for someone bold enough to be a pioneer in space travel for women, and this is Soviet Union, oh my God. So, you read about things from unlikely unlikely countries that they were pioneer. They want to make a program for women in space in 1962. 1962, oh my God. In the Soviet Union. Imagine, I just can't imagine. So, and guess who went to space for Soviet Union? Valentina did. Her experience as an amateur parachute sealed the deal. Even without the training program they do as a pilot, she was the one. She was just 26 years old then. She was chosen to become the first group of women as cosmonaut. Cosmonauts are actually astronauts called, when you are trained by the Russians, you are called astronaut. I said astronaut, you are called cosmonaut, which is cooler than the astronaut as a word. So her determination and talent made her stand out, even without her any formal background in cosmology, in science. She was chosen. So this historic day came in 16th of June in 1963. Valentina boarded the Vostok 6 spacecraft, which she was nervous, and she smiled a lot. If you see the pictures, she launched into space, and she was the first woman to do so. Over the next 71 hours and not 11 minutes, she went around Earth 48 times in a mission that amazed the world and changed how eventually we see women in science and exploration, in a time when women was, we were seen as delegated and not taking high risk adventures. She did it. She went to space, and she did it alone. So she went to the stars herself, checking, just diminish every stereotype about women that time. So after that iconic flight, she never went again in space, which was very surprising for me to hear about that. For Valentina, that solo limp into around Earth was just an opening act, and it stays an opening act for her, but not for us, for women in science. Following her journey in space, she dedicated herself to help the next generation as a cosmonaut instructor. I love the word cosmonaut so much. Always want to learn more. She went to Zhukovsky Air Force Engineering Academy to get the education she needed to become like a full, an instructor, as a cosmonaut instructor. And then even she never flew again. Her early flight was a record. She's still the only woman, imagine that, still until today, the only woman to be in a solo space mission. In 1963, after her flight, she married another cosmonaut, of course. She knew a lot of cosmonauts and was around a lot of cosmonauts back then. The Andrian Nikolov, which also he was a pioneer in the space age. The couple actually divorced in 1982, and later she married Yuli Shabosinov, which unfortunately he passed in 1999. So she remains resilient, balancing her professional achievement, also the challenge of her personal life with 2 marriages and raising a child along the way. So her achievement in space was just one chapter in her diverse career. After her days as a cosmonaut, she took a new challenge in politics and service. During her space time, when she was famous back then, she was deeply involved in the Soviet politics, serving as a member in the Supreme Soviet and taking part in the Presidentium through 1970s and 80s. So after the Soviet era ended, she never slowed down. She went to this lengthy political career on the national scene. She was elected to the Yaroslav Oblast Duma, and later she ventured into the State Duma as part of the United Russian Party. Her journey in politics wasn't without controversy. Of course, in 2020, for example, she was part of this highly debated moment when a constitutional amendment removing presidential term limits was introduced. And unfortunately, something I don't like about her life story is that in 2022, in favor of actions related to the Russian invasion of Ukraine land her under international scrutiny and sanctions. And that's the part I don't like in her story, because I'm really opposed to any war, and especially invasions like Russia did in Ukraine. And well, I'm from a country that is divided still into two because an invasion, the Turkey invasion in Cyprus. So I'm really against any invasion and any war anywhere in the world. So beside politics, she had also a lengthy military career. Valentina earned her rank as a major general in the Air Force. She retired in 1997. So, what does really Valentina Tereskova's story means for any of us today, especially for women, but also men in space? Why not? Because women in science is, I personally believe, it's everybody's story. It's part of everyone's stories. It's not about only gender equality. It's about the right to be a scientist, to be an astronaut, to be a cosmonaut, to be an engineer, to be anything that you want, even if you are a woman. And it's favor of human right, of any human's right to be educated and to have a career that he or she wants. So what her story means for us today, it means that even if you are a textile worker, but you do love jumping over airplanes, you can become actually a legendary cosmonaut, an astronaut, and of course, and a politician as well. So that it was her journey that show us that our origins, where we come from, doesn't matter. They do not define our destiny, where we end up at any point in our lives. Her story is a beacon for women everywhere, in any industry, that curiosity, bravery, hard work take you to places once you thought were impossible, like being the only women in space in a solo journey. So Valentina shatters barriers for women everywhere. Her flight opened the door for countless future scientists and explorers, and her career in public service reminds us that courage isn't just about physical adventures, it's also about standing up in the face of political and personal challenge. So that is the incredible life of Valentina Tereshkova, the woman who only touched the star, literally, also sparked a legacy of daring and determination on Earth. Her journey, although has got full of twists, achievement, heartbreaks, triumphs, she continued to inspire conversations about gender, politics, possibilities when you dare to dream big. Before we wrap up, I would love to know what part of her story spoke to your heart the most. Was it her fearless leap into space, her complex personal life, or her bold political moves, or even the one that she was in favor of Russia when it invaded Ukraine, which for me, it wasn't the highlight of her life journey. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive of Valentina Tereshkova life. Stay tuned for the next episode where we explore another remarkable story of a woman who changed science like Valentina did. Until then, keep reaching for your own stars, no matter where you are, where you come from, and where you are now. Thank you for being with me with another episode. Until you next time, I'm Kusandia, your host. See you again in the next episode of Hearing.